Hello everyone, welcome back to Edubbey Dynamic Solution. Today in this video we'll be treating the paper 2 of business study still on May-June 2023. Remember in our previous video we treated the paper 1 which I told you it is classified into 3 with different questions. Now let us see what is inside this paper 2 that we have here. Now we have question 1 here. Of course, we have an appendix here on this paper 2 theory also, which we are going to be reading out now, and we are going to use it in treating our question. This appendix is on everyone theater, that is ET. Zain and Zara are both actors. They plan to start up a theater in a low-income area of main city. Zain and Zara believe that helping the community is as important as being successful entrepreneurs. The theater will be a private sector business, and Zain and Zara have to decide whether to start up as an unincorporated business partnership or as a limited liability. Zain is planning to pay a cash flow forecast for the first year. Zara knows they will need to set business objectives for the theater and also decide on a leadership style to use when managing employees. ET will have 24 part-time employees as shown in the organizational chart in Appendix 1. Where is it? Wow, this is the organizational chart. That's the organizational chart. Zain and Zara plans to put on performances in the evenings for local people and tourists. There will be 100 seats in the theater, but not all the seats will be sold if the price is too high. The marketing manager, Zara, will need to decide which performances to put on, what price to charge, and which refreshment to sell. Sarah will also need to decide between the two possible options for the first performance when the theater open. Information on the two options is shown in Appendix 2. In the daytime, the theater building will be used by daycare, a local social enterprise. Daycare takes care of young children up to the age of 5 so that low-income family members can go out to work. It also provides education for the children, which helps their development and progress before they can start school. Some of daycare's objectives are different to those of ET, that is everyone theater. Now, this is the organizational chart in the Appendix 1, and the information that is shown in the Appendix 2 is the performance and their option. Now let us move to the question first before we can move to the Appendix 3. We move to the question here. Now, question 1A says we should explain 4 characteristics needed for an entrepreneur to be successful. What I can see you will remember all the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Of course, we are going to add text here. What characteristic do you think can make an entrepreneur to be successful in his or her business? You have to bring the point out. Also, of course, we have many characteristics, but we are just told to explain 4 here. Now let's look at the first one. We have self-confidence. What did I call it? Self-confidence. Of course, when an entrepreneur has self-confidence, they will have strong belief in their own ability or their idea, that is the one that they create. Being an entrepreneur, okay, as an entrepreneur, he, or let's use he or she, will have a strong belief in their own ability and ideas. That is the first characteristic that an entrepreneur may need. Now, another one is what? I can see you are mentioning it already. Being creative, creativity. Of course, an entrepreneur also need creativity characteristic. An entrepreneur must be creative. Let's use creativity since we are listing here. And the explanation. Let's try and add the text. Of course, an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur will, this is an entrepreneur, will be able to find, new and different ways to attract their customers when they are being creative. Now, what other characteristic do you know of an entrepreneur? Okay, they are also a risk taker. I can see you are getting it. They are also a risk taker. Let's try to push this up a little. They are also what? A risk taker. Let's say risk taking. Yes, risk taking is also part of their characteristic. Now moving to the explanation now, how do you think they took risk in their business? Of course, an entrepreneur, let's put it in words. An entrepreneur is doing what? They are willing, and entrepreneur are willing, let's use is because we are dealing with singular here. Is willing to do what? Is willing to risk losing what? Losing its own capital, since he is the owner of the business. Now, for the risk taking, of course, a sole trader or partnership will be willing to lose their own personal assets. And when an entrepreneur has a risk taking characteristic, of course, they will become successful. Now, what other characteristic do you know? Innovative. Of course, you are good to go. Innovative, that is innovative. Let us try it out. Innovative characteristic. Now, the explanation. An entrepreneur, an entrepreneur, how did they serve as, how did they use innovative? Of course, they will be able to, an entrepreneur will be able to develop new products to retain their customers. Of course, when they are meeting the demand of customers, they will also have competitive in their goods, they will have high sales when they are meeting the demand of customers. Of course, that is not all, but we are just told to mention two. We also have effective communicator. They will be independent and also hardworking and dedicated. Now, let us move to the next question here, which is 1B. Consider the advantages and disadvantages of starting up everyone charter as either an unincorporated business or as a limited company. Which should Sane and Sarah choose? Justify your answer. Of course, I can see you know the definition of unincorporated business. Okay? Of course, the business that does not possess a separate legal entity from its owner. Can you give me an example of it? Of course, we have sole proprietorship, partnership. That's an example of unincorporated business. And when we are dealing with limited liability company, of course, they are the one that possess a separate identity from the owner of the business, and they are not responsible for the liability of the business. Now let's pick some points under unincorporated business here, the one that does not have separate legal entity. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? According to the definition here, let's try and bring the advantages out first. Advantages. Now, what do you think should be the first advantages of being an unincorporated business? Of course, partners or the sole proprietorship, we have complete control of the business. Having complete control of the business. Having control of the business. That's the first point. Another point is what? It is easier to set up other than other business. Of course, by setting up a sole proprietorship business or partnership with just two individuals, it will be what? It will be easier to set up. Now, don't let us leave it like this. The appendix is what? Theater. The appendix is theater. You have to put the application. Also, let's pick one more point on the advantages also before we can move to the disadvantages. Before we can move to the disadvantages, what other points do you know that is under the advantages of unincorporated business? Of course, by using the sole proprietorship, you don't have to share profits. Do not have to share profit with any shareholders, except if you are dealing with just partnership business where you have the second partners. That is when you can decide to share your profit with the partner. Now let's move to the disadvantages of having unincorporated business for Zen and Zara. Let's put the disadvantages somewhere around here also. Disadvantages. Now, the first one is what? Unlimited liability. Of course, they are responsible for the liability of the business. When both of them are using unincorporated business, they will have an unlimited liability as the one of the disadvantages. And the unlimited liability means they could lose all their personal possession in the business. And also, the second disadvantage is limited sources of capital. When they are using the unlimited liability that does not possess any separate legal entity, they will have limited what? They will have limited sources of capital, except if there are two partners that's invested in the business. Now, the second one is, no, the third one is what? They will be responsible for all the decisions taken by each partner, because if any mistake were made, they will be the one to be responsible for the decision taken. That's also the advantages. Partners will be what? Will be responsible for all decisions taken by either of them. Even if it is only one person that took the decision, both of them will be the one to carry the burden. Now, we move to limited liability. Now, what are the disadvantages of using limited liability for Zain and Zara? Now, the advantages first. The advantages. Extra and write it out. Advantages. Now, the first point here is the separate legal entity. Of course, they are separated from their business when they are using limited company. Owner are what? Owners, and the business are separate legal entity. Of course, when the business and the owner are separate, even if there is a debt within the business of one partner, of course, the business continuity is assured. Now, they also have limited liability. Of course, that's also an advantage to them. That's also an advantage to them due to, compared to unincorporated business in which they are responsible for all the liability. Limited liability. Now, that's also an advantage. And another one is that by using limited liability, they can sell share to raise capital. Unlike it is difficult for unincorporated business to raise capital on their own. Limited company can do what? They can sell shares to raise capital. Now let us move to the disadvantages also before we can give our recommendation. The disadvantages. Now this first disadvantages is that when owner and businesses are separate, of course the account will not be private. The account will not be private. Let's try and put it out. Accounts are not private in limited company. Accounts are not private. Now the second one is what? It is not easy to transfer share as a limited company. It is not easy to transfer share as a limited company, and this can make it difficult to sell shares to friends and family most of the time. Now let's put in the second point also. The second point, it is not easy to do what? To share, to transfer share rather, yes. To transfer share as a private limited company. Now that's another point. That's another point. Let's move to the recommendation. Also, why do you think they should use unincorporated, and why do you think they should use limited liability? Now, the first recommendation is on the unincorporated business. Let's try and put the definition out. Unincorporated business should be chosen by what? By Zain and Zara. I think this is not the spelling for the Zara. Because what? You must develop your point based on the listed above advantages and disadvantages. Because what? Because it is easy to set up what? To set up the partnership or it is the partnership, since we are dealing with those two. Of course, how does it easy to set up the partnership when they are using unincorporated business? According to our point here, of course, the advantages to them, it is easier to set up the theater, and also they will have complete control of the theater and keeping all the profit to themselves. And to the limited liability too, let's try and put it out also. Limited liability should also be chosen, because of what? Because of their limited liability. Because of the limited liability. Because if anything goes wrong with the theater, then any liability will only be for the amount they have invested in the business, that is, all their belongings will be saved. Now, let us move to the next question. The next question is here. We have question 2A. Explain one business objective for ET, that is everyone theater, and one other objective that a social enterprise like daycare might have. Here we are going to explain one business objective and one objective for a social enterprise, that is the business objective and social enterprise objective. Now, one business objective is survival. Of course, the first business objective is how long the business will go, the survival. Now, we have to explain our point here. Now, let's put the test. Let's put the test for the explanation. Let's put it somewhere around here. Put it somewhere around here. Survival, of course, a business objective. Should we put it that way? Yes. We look into the year of operation. Year operation, so that it will not go what? It will not go bankrupt. It will not go bankrupt. And also cover the cost in the first year of establishment. Let's put it that way. Establishment. Now let's try and drag this to bankrupt. We have to here. Now that is one of the objective for business that we have. Of course, we still have the market shares, growth of the business, and the profit also. And one of the objective of social enterprise is also to provide service to the community. Provision of service. Let's try to write provision of service. Provision of services to the community. Provision of service to the community. Yes, now let's put the explanation 2. Provision of service to the community. How does this work? Because in order to look after the children in the appendix. Hope you remember that. To look after what? After the preschool children. Yes, in order to look after the preschool children, so that it can allow the parents and or guidance to go to work to improve their family income, so that it will do what? It will allow the parents to go to work and improve their family's income. Family's income. Now, we still have a lot more here apart from the one they asked us to explain here. We still have providing access to education, provide education for the preschool also. Yes. Now, let's move to the next question, which is question what? Let's see. Question 2b. Now, using appendix 2, now we are going back to where we have our appendix. Using appendix 2 and other information, consider the 2 options for the first performance as the theatre. Which is the best option for Sarah to choose? Justify your answer. Here we have our appendix. I think I've shown you this at the beginning of this video. Now, this is the appendix 2. We have the each performance here, and we have the 2 options also. We have the number of employees. For option 1, we have 7, and for option 2, we have 4. We have 24 rather. And for the average wages cost per actor or employee, for option 1, we have $30, and for option 2, we have $10. All other costs, including seasoning, costume, and promotion, we have $1,000 and $2,000. And for the forecast revenue, we have, assuming all 100 seats are sold, we have the $1,000 and $2,500. Back to our question now, after we've looked into the appendix 2. Now here we have the option 1. To justify your answer here, you have to identify the advantages of choosing appendix 1 or the option 1 rather, and the disadvantages of choosing it before you can justify your answer. Now let's try to add the advantages of choosing the option 1. Advantages. Yes. The first advantages is what? I can see they have fewer employee more than option 2. That's the first advantages. Let's add the text. Fewer advantages, fewer employees rather. Fewer employees. Fewer employees. Fewer employees, yes, they have fewer employees that are required to put on a performance, and that can actually reduce the variable cost. And also the cost of the costumes. Here we have the cost of the costume. Here also it is also lower compared to option 2. Now let's try to put that point out also. Second point here. Second point, cost of what? Cost of this navy and the costume is lower compared to option 2. Now that's another point. And let's see another point here also. Which one is the advantage? Of course, their total cost here also is also an advantage, and the lowest price per seat. The lowest price per seat here. We have the forecast revenue, assuming all 100 seats are sold. So if it is 100 seats here and this 1,000, of course, we have $10 per seat here. Now, the lowest price per seat cost. This is cost. This is cost of the costume. Now, the third advantage is the what? Lowest price per seat. Lowest price per seat at what? At $10. Lowest price per seat at $10. Those are the advantages also. Now let us look into the advantages of choosing this option 1 for Zara in the partnership. Now the disadvantages. Let's see one of the disadvantages you can find in this appendix. Of course, the average wage cost is higher than the option 2. As you can see here, the average wage paid is higher than the option 2, even when they have the number of the employees fewer than them. Now let's choose the first point here, the average wage as the first disadvantages. The average wage cost is higher than option 2. Another one is what? Let's see. We have it here also. This is the appendix 2. Which one did you choose as their disadvantages? They also have the lowest revenue for each performance of the two options. If you go to all this now let's try to do this. Yes, they have what? They have lowest revenue compared to option 2. As you can see, they have $1,000 if the 100 seats were sold, and option 2 has $2,500. Now let's go back to the question and put the point. The lowest revenue, lowest revenue lowest revenue of what? Of $1,000 compared to option 2. Now we move to the option 2 now. Why do you think they should go for option 2 also in the appendix? Now we also bring out the advantages of choosing option 2 and also the disadvantages before we can give our conclusion or recommendation. We have the advantages. The advantages to the option 2 is what? They have the lowest wage per employee. They will not pay more than the option 1. Now let's try and put the advantage out also. Lowest wage cost per employee. Lowest wage cost per employee compared to what? Compared to option 1. Also, which one do we have as the advantage here? We also have the what? The highest profit. Here we were told that the forecast revenue if the 100 seats were sold. Option 1 we have $1,000 revenue, while option 2 we have $2,500 revenue. Of course, they also have the advantages of having the highest profit per performance. Now let's put it out also to fill the blank space. Highest what? Highest profit per performance. Next, that's another point, highest profit per performance, and also the highest revenue, the 2,500 revenue that I just showed you now. Now the highest revenue, of $2,500 compared to option 1, compared to option 1. Now let's see their own disadvantages also. Disadvantages. Now, what do you think can be a disadvantages of choosing option 2 for Zara in this situation? Of course, they have the highest number of employees, which make them to pay more wage cost, which will make them to pay more people when option 1 is paying just for 7 employees. Highest number of what? Highest number of employee. Highest number of employee, which increase what? Which increase the total, which will increase the total wage cost. Of course, it will increase the total wage cost. Another point is what? Highest price per person. When we are discussing this 100 seats, when the 100 seats were sold, of course, they have the highest price per person of $25, when they did not even sell the seats. Instead of having $10 as option 1, they will have $25 if they do not sell the above seats. Now let us try to write it here also. Highest price per person. Highest price of, let's put our figure here, $25 per person if they did not sell all the tickets. Now, let's move to our recommendation here and also the conclusion of choosing the 2 options. Now, why do you think they should go for the option 1, and why do you think they should go for option 2? Now, let's try and put our text. We are dealing with everyone theater here. Should choose what? To choose option 1 to have what? In order to have the cheapest total cost of the performance. In order to have the cheapest cost of the performance, because the theater, as it is new, they will try to keep the cost as low as possible. They will try to keep the cost as low as possible. And also, option 2 as option 2 as what is as higher cost to put on performance, as there are more employees. In the option 2, they have to put more cost. You have to put more cost when they are choosing option 2. And also choosing option 2, let's try to put the second here also. It should choose option 2 because it will make a profit per performance when the revenue is $2,500. Now, which one do you think the company should choose out of the two? Of course, the one that will bring more profit. Let's say make more profit. Make more profit per performance. Now, let us move to the next question also. We have question 3A. Explain 4 reasons why it is important that Zane prepare a cash flow forecast before starting ET. Why do you think a cash flow forecast is being prepared? Of course, the first one is to manage cash flows. That is the inflow and outflow of the business. To manage cash flows, the inflow and outflow of the business. Now let's try to put the explanation after the point. To manage cash flow so that Zane and Zara will be aware of how much cash they have available. That is the first reason why a cash flow is being prepared, to know the amount they have when they are operating the theater. Now, another one is to show the bank to gain bank loan. Of course, when they want to borrow money, the bank may request it for their cash flow statement to know whether they will be able to pay back or not. To show the what? To show the bank when obtaining loan. Yes. Now, to know the what? In order to know the performance when obtaining a loan. to show the performance, whether it is poor or not, whether it is poor or not. Now, another reason is to show if the business is likely to run out of cash. Of course, cash flow statement also make us aware to know whether we are running out of cash or we have cash outlay, to show if the business is likely to do what? Is likely to run out of cash. Now let's put an explanation here. To show if the business is likely to run out of cash, okay, in order to avoid lack of liquidity, for the partners, and also to know if there is cash for the working capital or for day-to-day expenses. Let's try to give the fourth reason also, to ensure there is cash or working capital available. To ensure there is cash for day-to-day transaction, for day-to-day expenses. Yes. So day-to-day expenses. Let's put more explanation here. In order to put on their performance. Now let's try to put the explanation. Of course, we still have more, or it may be to see whether the business is achieving its financial objectives. Now let's move to the next question here. Consider the following 3 rules of marketing for ET. Which role will be the most important for ET to be successful? Now, which one out of these 3 rules of marketing: identifying customer needs, satisfying consumer needs, or maintaining consumer loyalty? Let's bring out some little points under these 3 rules of marketing. Which role will be the most important for it to be successful? And you have to justify your answer. Of course, by identifying customer need, it will help the business to find out what price customers are willing to pay for the seats. To find out, let's try and type. To find out what price customers are willing to pay for the seat. Of course, if it is too high, the price is charged, then many seats may not be sold, and that can lead to poor performance. And also identifying customer needs, to find out what type of refreshment they will buy at the interval of the theatre. To find out what types of refreshment customers wish to buy at the interval. Now, that's another point for identifying customer needs. Now let's move to satisfying customer needs too, as also one of the 3 roles of marketing given to us according to our question. Now, satisfying customer needs. Why does satisfying customer needs also be in the role of marketing? Of course, to ensure that the performance are what the audience are expected. To ensure that the performance are what customers are expected. To ensure that the performance are what customers are expected. Let's try and change this also. And to ensure that the performance are put on during the days that may suit the local people and tourists according to our appendix. Now let's try and put the point also. Let's try and put the point to ensure the performance is sweet to local people and tourists. Now, to maintaining customer loyalty now, to maintain customer loyalty. Now, to maintain customer loyalty, first point here is having link with customer to ensure that they are coming back to watch performance in the theatre company rather than going to other place. Having link with what? Having link with customer to ensure they are coming back to watch performance. That is one. Another one is keeping the existing customer also in order to attract the new one. Of course, when the new one see the way you are maintaining the existing one, they will also be happy staying with your company. Keeping what? Keeping the existing customers to attract the new customer, Now, your conclusion here about the 3 roles of marketing. Which one did you think the business can be using? Now let's start from identifying customer need first. Identifying customer need. Identifying customer need. Identifying customer needs is important because it needs them to do what? To plan and put on performance that will attract customer, because it helps to put what? It helps them to plan and put on a performance to attract customers. If they did not plan, this can lead to a loss for them. And if these needs are not met by the theater and it is not attracted to customer, it can lead to loss. Of course, satisfying customer needs is less important to the successful of the theater. Now moving to satisfying customer needs now. Satisfying customer needs. Satisfying customer needs. Satisfying customer needs is also important because what? If the consumer are disappointed with the performance, they will also tell their friend not to come to the theater again. The consumer needs is important because yes, because what? Important because if the customers do what? If the customers are disappointed, with the performance, they might not come back to the what? To the theater. Let's try to be using our application share to the theater. They feel disappointed. Now, disappointed. Let's try and reduce this for the remaining point. Now, of course, satisfying customer need is also being less successful here, and maintaining customer loyalty also. Maintaining customer loyalty. Maintaining customer loyalty is also important because they will remain in the theater, which will also keep attracting new customer. It is important because the customer will remain their customer and also call their friends along when they have already maintained their loyalty. Now let's try and reduce this to fit in before we move to the next question. Now, when using this customer loyalty here, of course, the marketing cost will be lower because the regular customer keep working back to watch the show. Now we move to the next question, which is question 4A. Explain two leadership style that Zain and Zara could use when managing its employee. Now, of course, we have three leadership styles. We have autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire leadership style. Now, leadership style one is what I've mentioned is we have autocratic. We have autocratic. Autocratic leadership style. Autocratic leadership style. Now let's try to put the explanation here also. In autocratic leadership style, using autocratic leadership style, decision will be made as fast as possible. Of course, when decision will be made as fast as possible, since they are the only one making the decision without any employees idea. Of course, in autocratic style, decisions are made by the owner. Now let's choose another type of leadership style, which is democratic leadership style. Democratic, yes, we have democratic. And in democratic here, communication is both downward and upward, which means the leader allows the employees to put their experience also, that is, they consider the experience of their employees and the idea. Now, the style allow the employees to communicate their experience when decision is being made by the owner. Now, that's the second leadership style. Now, let us move to question 4B now. Question 4B. Let's see what we have here. Question 4B. Consider the following three ethical issues for the theater. Which ethical issue is likely to have the biggest effect on ET? Of course, we have this appendix in our appendix I showed you here earlier. Here is it. Yes, I think we have it here. Paying fair wages and the others. Now, how do you think paying fair wages to employees could be an ethical issue that can have an effect on the employee? Of course, it will provide local people with a higher income that they might have. Let's try and type the point out here also before we move to the buying of caution. It will provide local people with what? With higher income when they are paying fair wages to the employee, higher income than what they are having before. And also having higher wages will also lead to higher motivation. It will lead to higher motivation that can improve the quality performance at the theatre. Okay, let's put it down. Higher wage rates can also lead to higher motivation, and this can increase the quality performance. We also have the point of lower labor turnover. People will not be leaving their work when they know the employer is really paying fairly. Lower what? Lower labor turnover. Now let's move to buying only costume produced in the local community. Of course, when they are buying only costume that is produced in the local community, the first advantage is that it will attract local people to watch the theatre performance. Let's try and put it in text. It will attract local people to do what? To watch the theatre, performance. Now, also it will also provide work for local people as it is low income. Wait, let us try to put the text out also. If it is low income area, it will provide what? It will provide work for local people. And one of the disadvantages here is that local people may not have the skill as required to put the performance in the theatre. Now let's put it out. Local people may not have the skills as necessary. Yes. Now, purchasing all refreshment from suppliers that do not pollute the environment, what do you think can also be a point here? Now let's put the text. Purchasing all refreshment from suppliers that do not pollute the environment, it may be more expensive than buying from less ethical supplier. May be more expensive than buying from less ethical suppliers. And also what? When it is expensive to buy from less supplier, it will reduce the range of refreshment available. Let's try and drag this and bring out the point also. It will reduce it will reduce the range of refreshments available. That is the one that is being brought into the theater to reduce. Now, what recommendation or conclusion could you give on this? Now, paying fair, let's start with the paying fair wages. This one is available. Now, starting with the paying of fair wages to the employee. Paying fair wages. Now let's try to this. Paying fair wages could be the most effect, or how did they want us to put this justification? Yes, we have it here now. Which article is likely to have the biggest effect on everyone? Theater. Okay. Who have the most effect? Let's put it like that. Who have the most effect because it may lead to an increase in cost that can lead to higher prices for 100 seats. Can lead to higher prices for 100 seats, and when the price per seat is increased, remember the customer might not even look at the side. And also consume produce locally. Customs produce locally might also be the most effect because it provide work. Of course, that one is an advantage. It provide works for the local community, and they are likely to sell all the 100 seats for each performance because the local people will have the income to buy the ticket. Now to the last point is the purchasing of refreshment from the less ethical suppliers. Now, of course, purchasing or refreshment, let's try and capitalize this to identify it. Purchasing or refreshment from ethical suppliers will lead to a good reputation for the theatre, to lead to a good reputation for the theatre. And this can actually do what? It can actually attract consumer, that is, they will be concerned with the environment. So it can also increase the revenue, because high ticket will be purchased and it will lead to high profit for everyone. Theatre, do you still have more questions here? No, I think we are done with this past year question. See you in our next video. Kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel Edubbey, www.edubbey.com. See you in the next video.